Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar for the Diesel Free Sites Adoption Programme. We'll give it a minute or so while we wait for people to join us. Great, just welcome everyone who's joining us now. We're just going to give it till about a minute past while we wait for everyone to join us. I see the numbers ticking up, so we'll just give it a minute, so we've got everyone joining who wants to. Okay. Great. I think we'll kick off. So welcome everyone. This is a webinar for the Diesel Free Sites Adoption Programme. So we're so excited to be launching this programme. It's a fantastic opportunity that we've got for you all with some great trial partners. So today's all about making sure you understand the opportunity and and a chance for you to ask questions so you can really focus on getting a good, strong application in. My name is Poppy Driver. I'm Head of Enterprise Support for the Built Environment at CPC. And I'll be just taking you through the introduction for this webinar and then handing over the team to take you into the detail. So if you go into the next slide, please. Great. So just a bit of housekeeping. If you could please use the Q&A function to submit questions throughout the session. And we've got dedicated time at the end to answer your questions. Any questions we don't get to, we'll make sure that we do respond back to you. So please do use that function so we can capture them there. The webinar will be recorded and we'll be sharing the link to anyone who signed up. So that will be happening afterwards. And yeah, if you need any other support beyond this webinar, please do reach out to us and we can see how we can help. So thanks for that slide. On to the next one, please. Great. So just quickly taking you through the agenda. I'll be introducing you to the program. We'll then be going through the partners as well. You'll get an oversight of the challenge that we've got, so diesel-free construction sites. We've then broken the challenge down into 4 key areas, which we'll be taking you through today. Carter's Yard is the site where you would be able to test your solution, so you'll be getting overview of that. We'll then go into the more of the detail of how to apply. So who should apply, who this relevant for, what the program offer is, the support available, what the funding is and what it can be used for, the application process, key dates, and then next steps. And then, as I said, we've got time for Q&A at the end. Thank you. Great. So just to set the context here. So Connected Places Catapult had the challenge to create a support program for high potential businesses within construction. And we've had the great opportunity working with Anglian Water and Costain to identify diesel-free sites as a great challenge that we could support high potential businesses on and linking them up with our trial partners. We know that the market wants to go towards diesel-free sites, and are already a lot of construction supplies, using diesel-free sites. But the water sector is one where we haven't seen as much adoption, and they really want to be able to get confidence in understanding how solutions can deliver diesel-free sites and really make sure that the numbers stack up and that it's a good opportunity for them to make the change. What we found is, there's limited evidence already in comparing live projects, which is, limiting confidence in this area. There's uncertainty around reliability and operational performance. There's concerns around cost, charging, and site integration. There's limited operator confidence and practical experience. And there's uncertainty around scalability in the commercial case. So what this program is all set to do is find solution providers that have solutions within this diesel-free challenge, connect them up with our trial partners of Anglian Water and Costain, and then making sure you work together to deliver a trial on site to demonstrate how your solution can meet and address some of these challenges and give you as much chance to get as close to adoption as possible and be giving the trial partners as much confidence that these types of solutions can help them meet their goals to go diesel free. So it's a really exciting opportunity, and we're thrilled to have such engaged trial partners. So it's definitely one worth applying for. So I'm now going to hand over to Lakeisha, who's going to give you more detail about the program. I'll be staying on to answer any questions at the end. So thanks so much for joining us today.
That's great, Poppy. Thank you very, very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lakeisha Jean, and I am a senior consultant that's working on this program and have been working on it with the great team here at CPC and our fantastic partners who I'll be happy to introduce to you later on the call. So I guess the first thing that I'd really love to kind of highlight is that at a high level, the diesel-free sites adoption program really is designed to support the demonstration and the wider adoption of solutions and specifically proven diesel-free construction solutions. So as a general note, this isn't really intended to be a super early stage R&D program where we're trying to establish whether core technology actually works or not. It really is focused on looking at evidence behind solutions that have already been used and demonstrated, and then kind of understanding how that performs in the context of real infrastructure delivery purposes. So on this page, we just have a couple of key elements that might be useful for you in terms of what you want to be thinking about when going through the application with us. So the first thing is demonstrate. So again, proven solutions and the process of putting that into a realistic operational environment. The second one is evidence. So being able to generate clear information on performance and value. And we really would love to see some signs on that and how best that would be placed for your solution. Integration is also super important. I think it's about understanding how the technology works, but how that will actually fit with operations, logistics, and the people that are involved. Necessarily speaking about our partners, but then also the journey and the path to get there. Confidence, and Poppy highlighted this earlier, it's super important to us that we give our delivery partners a better understanding of how the solution would work in practice. That is definitely the end result and the goal that we want at the end. And then adoption evidence. So generating evidence that could really support future replication and scalability, not even just to our partners, but to other industry partners that are very similar in the industry. So we really want to highlight that it's not just looking at how the technology works. We're trying to figure out whether it works within the operational reality of infrastructure delivery. Next slide, please, Vivian. Great. So program partners. So this program combines the SME, the client and delivery partner and CPC so that we generate evidence that it's actually useful to the industry as a whole. And this partner structure is really important because it brings a slightly different perspective. So in terms of CPC, we will be managing the program, providing the business commercialization, the adoption readiness, and that general support around the trial. In terms of Costain, who you'll be hearing from in a moment, so that's really looking at the industry and delivery perspective, helping to make sure that the demonstrations are super grounded in real operational challenges. Anglian Water will help to bring the client perspective as well. They have some very detailed sustainability ambitions alongside Costain and the wider kind of operational context. And the Strategic Pipeline Alliance, which is SPA, is basically the umbrella and it provides the delivery environment and I guess insight into what we're looking for wider adoption across projects. And the value is that I guess you're not necessarily just carrying out just a single isolated standalone demonstration. You will be working very closely with organizations that can help you understand what evidence the industry actually needs and really shape your solutions around that. Rather than me trying to tell you exactly what the industry needs, it would be great to get it straight from the horse's mouth. So I'd love to introduce Lee, and he is the Carbon and Innovation Lead at Costain. Over to you, Lee.
Yeah, thank you. Afternoon, everyone. And thanks for the introduction. As Lakeisha mentioned, Leo Lorenzo, the Carbon Innovation Lead in Costain and on the Strategic Pipeline Alliance, which is the Anglian Water Costain joint venture, along with three other delivery partners in MMB, Barron's, and Jacobs. And what SPA is delivering, in a nutshell, is a 550-kilometer large diameter pipeline, various materials, various installation techniques, where there are reservoirs, pumping stations along this pipeline route. It goes from the north of the East Anglia region, so around Lincolnshire, and goes all the way down to the south of the East Anglia region, so towards Colchester, Ipswich, as well as across places like Cambridgeshire and Norfolk. So it's quite extensive. The whole purpose of it is that it is a drought resilience, a climate resilience project. It's moving water from areas of abundance like that northern region down towards where it is a greater requirement in the south. And of course, being a climate resilience project, we have very stringent carbon targets that we need to hit. Not least of all, the fact that we are aiming to be diesel-free delivery by 2030 and emission-free delivery by 2035, which are, of course, challenging. But through resources like this, we can look to achieve it. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We've got a assessment in place. So as part of our move towards diesel-free, we've created our fuel emissions and energy transition framework, or our FEET framework. And as part of that, we have an assessment form that our schemes are required to fill out. And they are assessed in 9 key areas, 4 of which are particularly relevant for today. But those 9 areas, they include 2 for design, 3 for how we set up our sites, and 4 directly related to the construction activity itself. And it's quite a busy slide, but if we just focus on the area in the green box, that's what's helped us to build up the understanding of the challenges that we're trying to address. So we've got areas where we're looking at the plant we use, the generators we're using, how we monitor the energy use, and how we make sure that our operators are comfortable with using this equipment. And as I say, that has informed our challenges. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We come to the first of the 4 challenge areas that we've identified. So first and foremost, what we're looking for is a portable battery storage solution. So with SPA being this long pipeline, a lot of our schemes are linear. They are transient and ever moving. So we very rarely are just situated in one place where we can just set up a charging solution and just bring our plant back and forth to get to that one point. We need to be able to take the charge to our site of operation. And of course, right now, diesel is good for that, for when we're charging our welfare, and we don't need to do that for the diesel plant, but we can, of course, move diesel bowsers to fill those up. So it's about getting something that is equivalent in how easy it is to move around. So we might have a site where we do the predominant amount of charging, charge up this battery, and then take it to where we need to be. And the main thing here is the fact that we need this temporary power to complete our work, but we want to be able to make sure that it integrates to not only our new solutions of battery electric vehicles, but also into our pre-existing site setup as well, so our welfare and what have you. And at the very bottom of the green square, you can see it's demonstrate the commercial case for wider deployment. That'll apply to all of these. We want to make sure that it is something that we can afford to switch to in the long run. So that also factors into the reliability aspect that we're looking into. And importantly, providing data on energy use as well. So where we potentially fall short a bit right now is understanding fuel use, understanding energy requirements. So if we are able to better monitor that on our charging solutions, that would be a great benefit for Spa, Costain, Anglian, and so on. If we can move to challenge 2, please. So the next challenge revolves around how we actually generate our energy. So can we find renewable alternatives to the diesel generators? Can we find sustainable generators? Of course, reliance on diesel does not give us a nice stepping stone to hit our decarbonisation commitments. So we are aware of things like battery electric, solar hybrid, hydrogen generators. All of these things are things that we would look to bring onto our site so that they can be used to charge up the portable battery solutions. And a big thing about this is that whatever solution we go with, we have to be able to depend on it. There has to be the right supply, so we need to be able to get as many generators as we need to reach our power requirements, and they of course have to comply with the typical stuff like our noise, our fuel use, emission commitments as well. So all of that stuff, all of the site safety that goes around any different generators, we would have to do the relevant checks, and we need to make sure that they can be brought on and operate in construction site conditions, as we all know, aren't always the most favorable. Challenge 3, please, is the fuels that go into it. So sort of touched on it already. We need to make sure that the backing between any generator that we bring on is reliable. So if we are using an alternative fuel, we need to make sure that the supply chain is there. So we're not going to start facing extreme cost spikes if we try and upscale it, or a shortage, and therefore can't do our work in a low carbon way and have to resort back to diesel. So these are the things we're looking for. We need to make sure that they are credible. So of course showing lower carbon alternative, but also that they are sustainable in the long run. So there's no knock-on impact of sourcing this fuel that's going to be the next big problem. If we are, blue sky thinking we've solved all the carbon problems by moving towards this new fancy fuel, but that's just unlocked a whole new can of worms. But if we are able to make that assessment at the start and we can demonstrate that this is a sustainable source, then we'd be very happy to take that forward, with considerations on how we store the fuel as well being very important. So when we're setting up our site to keep this fuel on there for whenever we need it, are there any conditions that we need to be aware of? Do we need clearance zones around the storage area, that sort of thing? And then the last challenge area, go to the next slide please, is the battery electric plant itself. So we're looking for solutions that are battery electric plant that we can charge using all of the aforementioned solutions just then. So of course with this one, it's about getting the operatives on board. So many operatives on Spa, they are excited by this possibility, but there's of course the hesitation around not only the fact that it is different, so the same way you don't just jump from one car to another completely seamlessly. There'll be a bit of a learning curve of how to operate this plant. It's the reliability concerns. So the main thing you hear when you talk to someone about switching to battery electric is the battery life, and how we're going to charge it, what the logistics around that. So those are all things that we would look to consider potentially, well, definitely in conjunction with the other challenge areas. We would need a holistic charging solution to make sure that the battery electric vehicles that we provide are suitable for our operators. So these pieces of plant, they are things that we would look to adopt widely if, again, it's demonstrated that they are reliable. And I'm saying that word quite a lot. It's the big thing here, that we need to show reliability in construction, and overcome any of the challenges around logistics. So the last slide that I'm going to talk through is around the actual demonstration area. So we have the demonstration site, Carter's Yard, picked out, and this is in the west Norfolk region. So what Carter's Yard is essentially SPAR's strategic hub. It's where we're going to be storing a bunch of our steel pipes, which we've ordered in. And for that, we need to get a nice hard standing area for them to go on so that they can be stored there for however long they need to be before we can put them in the ground. That will, of course, involve quite a bit of earth movement to make way for this hard standing. And we would look to make sure that all of these potential solutions can help us to actually deliver this site on time. Of course, if there are any questions around Carter's Yard, we'll pick up on them in a bit, but I think that covers this site quite well. And as I mentioned, the site, make sure that we're there while it's operating. We'll go into exactly the timeline with Lakeisha in a moment, but it's going to be over the winter. It's going to be starting in November. That's when we have planned the works at Carter's Yard. That's it from me. I'll pass over to Lakeisha.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lee. I think getting some sort of really in-depth understanding of the four challenges is great. I think one thing that just listening to you again is really highlighted through the four challenges is the fact that they're quite interconnected. So essentially the diesel-free site is ultimately a system, how energy is generated, how energy is stored, how it's moved, how the plant itself is charged, what happens when electrification isn't actually possible yet, and how the operators of all of that manage it all without affecting delivery. So I think that there is a kind of golden thread through everything. So when you are thinking about your application, I'd encourage you to think beyond just describing the technology, really kind of think about the solution, and what operational uncertainty you can remove for the client, for our partners in this. That would be a really, really useful lens to look at the proposal trial. So in terms of the demonstration period, so I want to make this as clear as possible so that we have a really sort of clear evidence plan. All of this, again, is on our application guidance that our team worked on. Myself and Isabella, who is another member of the team, worked to make this as clear as possible on the application guidance. If you have any more questions, please do send us an email, which is on the website, or put some bits in the Q&A sort of I guess we'll be looking at that later on in terms of if you have any specific questions, just send us some questions on here and we can answer that live for you. So to make things super clear, it's a 6-month trial. The core development period is 4 months and the physical site activity may only be around 6 weeks. So this is really important because in terms of the demonstration, we would really need a clear evidence plan for that time period. The overall program participation runs from October 2026 to March 2027. The trial and development delivery period is expected to run mainly between November to February, so November this year to February next year. And as mentioned, within that, the expected physical site activity should be around 6 weeks, although that will depend on the final trial plan and the site requirements, so it can be less than that. The rest of the program is equally important because that's where we'll really be doing the partner engagement, the collection of evidence, the analysis, the commercial and adoption planning. And so I guess the value of the trial isn't necessarily determined by how long the equipment or your solution is able to get to the site. It really is about the kind of measurable success criteria and the credible evidence that we'll ultimately be looking to get towards the end of it. As a quick note, and I think this is on this slide too, yep, so businesses should be receiving about 60K, so £60,000, that includes VAT, and we'll be looking at that per application, which I will come back to shortly. Okay, can we get the next slide up, please? That's slide 14. Fab. So in terms of who should apply, I think the biggest thing that we're looking at here is the minimum TRL should be about 7, but we are particularly interested in looking at mature, deployment ready TRL 8 to 9 businesses with customers with real delivery evidence. And so I guess when we talk about maturity, it means both the technical maturity and the actual business maturity as well. We want to understand whether the technology is going to work, but also whether the business itself has capacity, and the resources and the commercial potential to deliver this opportunity successfully. And in terms of the TRL being 7, we are looking at evidence from at least one real project and then kind of extrapolating from that and looking at the commercial potential. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, please, Vivian. Thank you. So, this being said, you don't need to solve everything. We're not looking for a company to come along and look at every single challenge and solve it all. But I think each application for each challenge area has to be clear and distinct. Organizations can submit more than one application where each application would relate to a specific challenge as a specific, distinct, proven solution. And that would have to be submitted separately, and that will be assessed completely separately and independently from each other. So if you are applying more than once, please make sure that each proposal stands out on its own and that it clearly explains the challenge, the solution that you as a business already have, and then the proposed demonstration and expected outcomes would be fabulous. Let's go on to the next slide. So what support will businesses receive? So the 60K really is only part of the offer. We are looking at a business being able to receive on this program access, the ability to we'd be able to facilitate a lot of evidence building, adoption readiness. All the support is equally important. So the insight that you'll be getting from Costain, Anglia Water, will be absolutely paramount to the solutions that you're looking to come up with. Alongside that, CPC, so Connected Places Catapult, will be providing business, commercial, adoption readiness support. So our job will be really about helping you to think about the evidence being generated, understanding your business case, your procurement readiness, and your eventual route to market. We want to see the companies on this program succeed, whether it's within these partners or whether you decide to look at national infrastructure companies to kind of procure or be in contact with. We want to be able to help and aid with that process. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, I think. Thank you. So what should your application cover? So I guess the key message is really start with the problem and the evidence, not just a focus on technology, on the technology that your company has. So we really need to see that kind of deep thought about how you could help and how you could address the challenges that we've mentioned. So crucially, I guess we want evidence from your previous projects or previous deployments. Then be clear about your proposed demonstration. So we are trying to figure out what exactly do you want to do at Carter's Yard? What exactly is the question that the trial will answer? And what outcomes and evidence will be generated from that? And most importantly, how are you going to measure this success? We also need a really indicative delivery plan. So a completed projects finance table, evidence of your commercial potential, evidence of your scalability. And I think most importantly, confidence. We'd love to see in terms of what your team has the capacity to deliver, to make sure that we can both kind of get the most out of our time of working together on this program. And a great application tip, I guess, yeah, don't just tell us your technology is reliable or that it's scalable or that it's commercially attractive, we want the evidence to support those claims. And that will really help us narrow down to the companies that we really would love to work with. Let's go to the next one, please. Great. So scoring criteria. So this is very, very important. So I would strongly encourage everyone to read the detailed scoring criteria in the application guidance as mentioned before. So we have the 30% solution and market potential category of this. And for this, we're looking at the maturity of a company, the customer traction, already existing customer attraction. We're looking at the commercial potential and the wider sector opportunity. For the trial proposal and feasibility, which is 20%, so we need a realistic deliverable trial that can generate just meaningful evidence. And then growth, which is 20%. So this is basically us assessing whether a business demonstrates a credible growth trajectory that we can support. And then financial, this is looking at whether the company is financially stable, has the capacity to deliver, and continue scaling even after working with us. And finally, the team. So I've highlighted this before, making sure the team has the right capability, the right experience, and I guess capacity to deliver. Let's go on to the next page, please. Thank you. So this is about the financial resilience and delivery capacity. I guess we're not just thinking about whether a company is profitable or not. We're really looking for that kind of financial history. So yeah, I guess the application guidance refers to whether we have 18 months or more of runway where relevant. We also will be looking at the repeatable revenue, the financial sustainability, if you've had any investment history, which is not required, but whether that's happened or not, or just your general financial strategy. We're also asking whether the business is, I guess, just resilient enough to deliver the opportunity with the 60K. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. No, let's go back. There's a couple bits. I'm just looking at the PowerPoint. I didn't quite highlight that. Thanks, Vivian. So I guess it would be great to spend a bit of time on the funding because I'd like to be really, really clear. So this is essentially a pre-commercial funding under a pilot and trial contract. This is not grant funding. The successful applicants will receive up to 60K, as mentioned. As part of the application, we would need a completed project finance table, which I think I've mentioned earlier, but that's super important to us. And then the funding will be subject to application assessment. We'll be doing some due diligence checks on our side. We'd need to agree on the trial scope and the finance plan. And we'd have to pass that through our partners and the site. And then that will really give us the ability to have a clear view of the value for money. And then we'll be able to kind of complete the relevant contract. In terms of the actual schedule, it is about 60% upfront, following contracting, and then the remaining 40% is paid subject to completion of all the agreed delivery and reporting requirements. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to say on this page. I guess in terms of eligibility for the finance amounts, this can include a lot of different things, staff resource, equipment, travel, but I guess the costs just need to be really clear and they need to reflect their market value. I think that's everything now. So thank you. Viv, next slide. Thanks. So yeah, key date 12 p.m. on the 7th of September is the immovable deadline. So we'll be looking for applications midday on the 7th of September. A few more general dates to get in the diary. So after applications are submitted on the 7th, on our end, we'll be working to shortlist applications and we'd be looking to contact successful applicants late September. So we're thinking about the 30th of September. Interviews will then take place on the 5th and 8th during that time period, between the 5th and the 8th of October. And then those interviews will include a 10-minute presentation followed by a Q&A. So if you do apply, please keep those dates of the 5th to the 8th as free as possible. And then the successful candidates will be contacted on the 14th of October. Again, all of these dates are in the application guidance. This is just a high level view of the dates. And then the welcome day, which will be the sort of big introduction to the program, meeting of the partners, and all those things, that will be on the 22nd of October. So everything will be moving rather swiftly, but again, when it comes to team capacity, that's a really big priority for us. We want to make sure that communication with yourself is super smooth, that we're able to get all these dates in check and get started on the program as soon as we can. Next slide, Vivian. Thank you. So in terms of application support, so I guess it'll be great to leave you with a couple top application tips. This sounds very simple, but please answer every part of the question that's being asked because we will be having a scoring criteria that is directly tailored to the questions. Use measurable evidence as much as you can. Explain your demonstration really clearly. Make it easy to read. We're going to have a lot of these applications to go through, but just make it as clear as possible. Write in plain language. The assessors will definitely have technical knowledge, but we may not be specialists in your exact technology. So unexplained jargon won't help the situation. Just make sure you make it as clear as possible. And stay within the word limits. Especially if you're passionate about your solution. We are really it would be great to be able to kind of see that excitement come through, but if you can stick to the word count, that would be fab. And then if you need any other kind of assistance or you have any more questions, you can contact the program team if you need any clarification. Yeah, and I think just in terms of the final kind of bits for that, make it really easy for the assessor to understand what is the problem, what is your solution, and why your business and why now. I think the kind of understanding of where your business is time-wise will be useful for that too. Okay, I think that might be the final. Yes, fab. So I guess this brings us to the end of the formal presentation. Hopefully, we've given you a clear sense of the opportunity, the level of maturity that we're looking for, and what a strong application should, how it should come across and what it should demonstrate. So now I'm going to open up the floor to some Q&As, which Vivian will help me with. Poppy, Lee, and myself are all here for answering any questions. So please put anything that you'd like for us to cover in the Q&A. And I'm just going to have a look and see what's happening in the chat to see if we have any questions. Okay. Okay, great. So we have a question from Sam, and he says, did I hear correctly that you require an 18-month runway on the financials? Yes, so that's what we've put in the application guidance. 18 months is the standard amount for us to kind of understand that a business has been running for a substantial amount of time. And as mentioned, I think in that section, we don't necessarily require businesses to have had any external investment. We just want to see what the numbers are looking like, and get kind of a long runway as to how the business has been operating over the past year and a bit. Hopefully that answers that, Sam. Thanks for putting that in. Let's see if there's any more questions. Oh, yeah, go for it.
I was going to say there's some in the Q&A bit. So I think, for instance, Paul Andrews, you've said over and above the funding for novel technology, would the project cover hire of other kit to enhance the demo? So you've given the example of the battery system. The idea here is that we are looking for multiple different suppliers that can cover each part of these. So, for instance, with your battery example, that would be covered by the 60,000 to potentially another SME. So that's how we would look to structure it.
Okay, that's great. I'm just going to go back to Sam very quickly. He says, sorry, does he want an 18-month financial runway or 18 months in business? We require an 18-month financial runway. If you have any more specifics about that, please do send a quick email. Perfect. Thanks, Sam. If not, send an email to Hannah, who can send it out to us and we can give you a proper email answer. The next question I can see, and this is an anonymous attendee, so they're asking, can you be specific about the battery sizes that you need charging? That's quite high level. Any thoughts on that, Lee?
Right now, no, because it's something that will probably have to be demonstrated. Like it is that golden thread that was mentioned before. Is it all comes together, which I appreciate does make it quite difficult in the planning. I don't know what a typical battery is on these sort of solutions, because it is very early days for us. This would be the first time we actually deploy anything like it. So I don't know whether something like 250 kilowatts is a reasonable suggestion or not. So I'd maybe hesitate to give you a full answer on that one. But a medium battery size that's capable of charging a large bit of battery electric plant is what we're looking at.
Fab, that's great, Lee. Thank you. We've got another question in from C, and he's asking, can we submit a single application that targets multiple challenge areas? Okay, so I understand that might be more efficient in terms of making an application, but unfortunately not. We're looking at having essentially one solution, one application per challenge, just so we can make that really distinct. And in lots of ways that would be great for your business because you could put in multiple applications. If one doesn't necessarily tick all the boxes, there'll be another that we can look at. So yeah, a single application per challenge. And I think Poppy has something to mention about that.
Yeah, but I would say that your solution may cover multiple. So I guess just in that instance, um, if I think that it's one application per each trial design. So I think it's more because some solutions are going to cover a few of them, and I would hate that trial design to have to be split into multiple applications because it crosses different challenges. As Lee's explained, because the challenges are part of a process, your trial may cover a chunk of that process and isn't just going to meet one. So if that's okay, Lakeisha, I would recommend
Yeah, yeah.
one application per trial idea. If you've got a
Yeah.
solution that you think could be trialed in different ways to give different outcomes, then fine. But yeah, we understand that some solutions will be able to cover the different challenge areas, which is fine. And that's really what Lee is looking for, is solutions that can really cover that full life cycle.
Yeah, okay, okay. Just to make that really clear, so my apologies. So I guess if you have a specific trial design that targets one specific challenge, that's completely fine. But if there is, as Lee mentioned, that golden thread where it is covering a couple different things, just put that all in one application. I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood that, but thanks, C. Hopefully that's really clear. Let me know if that's not, because I will be able to see a comment about that. Will the slideshow be mailed out to everyone? Yes, this slideshow and I believe the webinar will be made publicly available to you. Andrew, does Costain have any specific diesel-free construction plant requirements that they can identify for the trial? Any thoughts on that, Lee?
You repeat that, sorry.
That's fine. So it says,
So,
do Costain have any specific diesel-free construction plant requirements that they can identify for the trial?
so like the kind of size of plant that we'd be looking for, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So we're trying to be flexible. So if it's open to whatever electric plant you've got, but for our own confidence in upscaling, we are looking for the bigger the better, essentially. So we're not limited to a particular bit of plant, but let's say it's something where you're able to supply an excavator. If it's 20 plus tonner excavator, brilliant. If it's smaller than that and we can still work with that, that's fine too. It's not limited in that sense.
Nice, thank you, Lee. This is from Christian. He says, "Hi, for the trial specifically around fueling, is there a view on the preferred hierarchy of which fuel should be used? For example, hydrogen or solar or diesel?" Okay, I'm not sure about the diesel part there. Are these in line with Costain and Anglian Water's existing ones? Interesting.
So
Yeah, sorry, I believe that'd be you.
sorry, yeah, I was gonna say we do have a energy hierarchy that we look for. Mains power being at the top, but that doesn't really factor in here. Then the zero emission fuels are next. So like you mentioned, hydrogen, absolutely. Diesel right at the bottom. Transitional fuels are something that we are open to. We would ideally not rely on things like HVO or biofuels, biodiesels. But if there is a reliable, renewable generator that uses solar, we'd also be interested in hearing about that solution. So yeah, zero emission fuels is top of the list. And obviously it goes all the way down to say that diesel is right at the bottom.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, C just mentioned that his question's been answered. Thank you. That's great, C. Thank you. So this is another one from Paul. So he says, "Can you clarify that the battery provider can submit a separate application if we intend to integrate the two technologies?" I'm not sure I understand that question. Do you understand that better, Lee?
In
Or
the
if not, I've got
trial, is it in the Q&A?
yeah, yeah.
Who's said
So
that?
Paul, I'm so sorry.
Provided
Could you
must not provide a
possibly,
considered set that application for to integrate the two.
yeah,
So,
could okay, go
well,
for
if
it.
I understand correctly, there will be a lead applicant to the application. If you have a battery provider that you want to use within your trial, that's absolutely fine. The 60,000, including VAT, can cover the 60,000, including VAT, will cover you to do a trial. There may be match funding that you give in terms of time, resource, other. That's up to you how much you give, so that but however you want to do the 60K, we can have a lead funder. So if that's yourself, but there's another supplier you want to bring on board your trial to make the trial as successful, they can do that. I would have to confirm the percentage of the money that can go to that subcontractor. But you just need to outline this in your funding table in the application form. It says like how you'll break down that £60,000, and within that you can identify if there's a subcontractor that you're using to provide that additionality, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Poppy. Paul, let us know if that's been answered or you want to rephrase that for us at all. Um, okay, another question is from Jay, and he says, "Can you outline the typical operating hours per day that the systems would be needing to provide power to the site?"
I think in general we'd be looking for 9 hours worth of operation each day.
Nice. And another one for you, Lee, from Chris, who says, "What size excavators are you typically looking for on the AW project?"
Um, so is that just a general question across SPA? SPA, when we're excavating the pipeline, we use larger excavators for that. If it's a one related to specifically this cottage yard trial, that sort of touched on before, where we're flexible, but because I suppose we're looking at larger plant across the majority of SPA for the upscaling factor. If we can get larger plant for this trial, then that's preferable.
Nice. Okay, we've had another question from Anonymous, and it's okay. It says it's for EV plants, though. Just to clarify, is this question referring specifically to battery electric construction plants rather than the wider charging infrastructure? Sorry, if you could, I'm not, let's see, a new message has come through. Okay, I'm going to leave that question first. The individual that asked about the EV plant, could you possibly rephrase that question and give it a little more context if possible? Jay's come back to us on that last question that you answered, Lee, and he said that is that continuous power supply for 9 hours, and would you be able to provide load profiles at any point in the process?
Continuous power. So the priority for this is that we can generate power specifically for battery electric plant. We haven't really factored in charging the welfare and everything for this specific trial. If it's something that comes out as we go along with the planning, whoever we proceed with, if that becomes something that we are able to achieve, then great. But I suppose in terms of whether it's continuous or not, I suppose not. It's we would want to be able to get this generator, charge up the battery to full, and then use the battery to charge our plant however we need to with the charging logistics that we would be looking to address. As for load profiles, as we get further down the line, we'll be able to get all the information that is needed to plan effectively. We don't necessarily have that right this second. I certainly don't have that to hand from me for this call. So I do apologize if that's something that's 100% necessary right now. But further down the line, we absolutely can give you all the information that you need to plan properly, whatever solution you're providing.
Yeah, just to add on to that, if you need anything specific, please just send us an email, and if we can answer it, we will. Okay, this might be in line with the last question you answered, Poppy. So this is Paul, and he's saying is, if there are two technologies that could apply in their own right, but we want to combine them for maximum benefit, is there scope to do this as two linked applications?
I would recommend, I guess, Paul, if the question is, do you know the other technology that you think you would collaborate with? If so, I recommend trying to have a conversation to come join with one application. If you don't know the other, like the battery provider, and that's what you're looking for, do let us know, and we can see if there's any opportunity to try and link you up with other providers. The timing is just really tight to do the matchmaking. It's something we've explored in other programs in the past, but we're quite limited on timings here. There's not to say that during the program those conversations could happen, but if you know the provider you think you'd like to have on the trial, I suggest one application with one lead applicant.
Sounds great. I'm just going to see if there's any more questions I've missed out.
The match is already made and tested, then fab, Paul, then I would suggest applying as one. So then Lee and the team can really see the benefit, and in your application you can really describe the benefit of, being applying together.
Okay. I'm going to give... Sorry, go for it, Lee.
Really sorry, I was just going to say, I suppose for a clarity perspective, in those situations where you provide two solutions, does that open up to the, let's say, 120,000 for those solutions, or is it still the 60 for one application? It's
That's a good
how I'm
question.
reading that
We would
question.
normally, yes, I guess I would see that as 60,000 for the one application. Um, but Paul, maybe if you message us, can we just make sure someone's putting in the chat the email address that we're using? We can explore that in a bit more detail for you. So yeah, it'd be good to get an overview of what you're suggesting, because that's a good point, Lee.
I'm just going to give it another 20 seconds or so to see if there's any more questions that anyone has to think of. Okay, I can't see any more questions. Just a quick, Vivian, is there anything else that's come through that we haven't seen?
No, not that I can see.
Um, that's great. I'm literally just about to attach the email address of the program lead, Hannah. And this is on the application guidance, but I'll just attach it again in this chat. If there's anything more specific or anything else you'd like to ask,
I
we
can just
would.
see one question come in saying, is there a mechanism to show Costain Anglian Water are diesel-free technology without applying for the trial? I guess that's for you, Lee. I guess for us, we've set this up so the trial gives you the most kind of handheld guidance and support to ensure that you're able to demonstrate all the impacts and evidence that thereafter through a trial. But I guess, Lee, over to you if you're open to that.
Yeah, I mean the best way to go about that, I guess, would be to drop me an email, make me aware of what you're doing. The most effective thing is to go through this trial process, because we are obviously doing a bit of a horizon scan of what's out there, and so we are very, very interested. But we can't guarantee when we'd be able to even bring that onto site, because we're also doing a big cost exercise of how we could afford it if especially if we're unsure of how it all works. So that's why, if we're able to demonstrate it in this trial, we are then able to look to upscale it. But going through the trial is the best first port of call, I would say. But we have engaged with suppliers. We are aware of some of the things out there. So this isn't to discourage you from dropping me a message. We can organize a meeting. You can speak with the team. But it would be a completely separate thing to this trial, so it wouldn't get the funding to bring the solution onto site as a result of doing that.
That's great. And I've just had a quick message asking where the application pack is downloaded from. So just to make that super clear, if you go onto the Catapult website and under opportunities, there's a diesel-free sites adoption program. There's a couple of tabs. So the tab you want to click on is how to apply. And under that are supporting documents. And then with the supporting documents, we have two documents there for you to have a look at, and that's the application guidance and then the terms and conditions. And both of which are PDFs that you can download and have a look at, which contains all the information that we said on today's call, if not a little bit more in depth. So hopefully that should help out with that question. Okay. If you would like to speak to Lee, I know I've just had something come in, Matt. I'm just going to ask if you can email us and then we'll send the questions over to him, because I'm pretty sure we'll have quite a few questions coming in. And if Lee wants to talk to you, or, well, I'm sure he would, but if Lee wants to set up a meeting or whatever, then yeah, we can arrange that from our side if that's okay. And that was, I think Matt mentioned that. So I'll keep a lookout for that. Um, Sorry, very quickly, did we just answer Andrew's question? I was just coming up with the links.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that's been useful for you. And as you said, please do email us if you have any further questions. We're very happy to support, and we really hope you see benefit in applying for this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.